We're all used to dealing with varying bits of equipment and machinery. Simple, complex, light, heavy, old or new design. But here we're going to concentrate on just one. It's got 27 main active lever-type components, plus linkages, absorbers, sensors, flexors, power sources, and it's operated by instructions from a remote computing facility. In case you don't recognise the machine we're describing, it's this: a human hand. It has 27 bones with cartilage on their ends to absorb shock and help the surfaces to move smoothly across one another. They're held together by ligaments, and the whole thing works when nerves carry signals to muscles and tendons, making them move arm, hand, fingers and thumb. The nerves also carry signals back to the brain about sensations such as touch, pain, and temperature. It's an amazingly complex piece of machinery, and it's vital to each of us for almost everything we do, from the simplest of functions in our everyday lives to the more complicated demands of handling tools, equipment, and materials at work. And yet, despite its obvious importance, half of all the injuries on our assets involve hands. We take great care maintaining and servicing tools and equipment, so it makes obvious sense to look after our hands with at least the same degree of care and attention. That's why we're devoting this part of our campaign to raising awareness of the need to take care of our hands and think about hand safety. They're vulnerable to all sorts of things. A few examples of actual incidents will illustrate what we mean. Crushing is an obvious danger. While installing a new spool to a pig launcher, one person was lowering a 35-kilogram bolt with two hands when it slipped, catching his third and fourth fingers between the nut and the flange and fracturing both. Hand injuries are more likely to occur during routine activities. A scaffolder was dismantling a scaffold in a restricted area. A tube was fed through to him, and as its weight shifted, the end he was holding swung up and trapped his thumb between the tube and unistrut. Hand injuries can also occur within perceived safe areas, such as the accommodation area. This time, the injured person trapped his thumb in the door of a washing machine. Burns are also debilitating and painful. One incident involved a penetration plate, which was still hot from welding. The toolbox TAQA had failed to identify potentially hot surfaces, and the wrong protective gloves were being worn. Another person suffered a finger laceration, removing a blade from a Sengar saw when wearing gloves which didn't meet the PPE matrix requirements. The incidents described have a range of root causes, and it's important that we learn from them. The lessons are clear. We need to be more aware of the potential hazards that our hands may be exposed to. Whether it's trapped or crushed fingers, burns from hot surfaces or chemicals, or broken bones and lacerations from equipment, the injuries could have profound consequences. To help avoid hand injuries, we need to think about all aspects of the task across its duration, to concentrate 100%, from the initial site visit using the hazard identification card, building the permit correctly to make sure we stay in control of the work, then by carrying out good toolbox talks and dynamic risk assessments. Use your senses. If our senses are impaired or obscured in any way, this can directly impact on our accuracy with regards to situational awareness and handling tools or operating equipment. Think about your hand placement, movements, space, and gravity. To protect your hands, wearing the correct PPE is essential, but gloves are not enough. Always identify the risks and always be aware of where your hands are positioned. Keep yourself out of the line of fire. Some tasks may be simple, routine, second nature. Others may be new, involved, or complex. Regardless of the task, We need to stay aware of our surroundings and concentrate so we can spot any potential hazards. Never rush or cut corners just because you've done something a dozen times before. By following TAQA's intelligent safety behaviours, you can help others overcome any limitations. Stop to take a 20-second scan. Think about your environment. And act to correct anything that looks or feels unsafe. We're now going to pause to discuss. We want to reduce the number of hand injuries across TAQA, and you can play your part. Remember, even before you start the task, be involved and pay attention at the toolbox talk, and take time to make a 20-second scan of the worksite. Be aware of the situation you're in. Make sure you have the space to work and move your hands safely. Think about your hand placement. Don't put them in the line of fire. Stay alert and be aware of all potential surrounding hazards. Concentrate on the job and avoid being in an alpha state. Wear the right gloves for the task, whether it involves cutting, grinding, chemicals, heat, or is electrical. But remember too that gloves are the last line of defence. If a piece of equipment or machinery is heavy, then gloves just aren't enough. If something you're working with is too heavy to handle, don't handle it. Use TAQA's Looking Out for Each Other observation and intervention system to help spot hazards for others who might not be aware of an unsafe situation. And if you see a potentially unsafe situation, stop the job immediately. You use your hands for almost everything in life. Look after them and don't take them for granted.